Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. This one is all about making Snow's belt. I've also got parts 1, 2 and 3 of making this project already up on my channel, and if you're interested in real-time updates, I post all of those to my close friends stories on Instagram for Patreon supporters. All the links will be in the description box below. On to the video. Look what arrived in the mail for Snow. So I got my leather gloves. I bought these all off AliExpress, by the way, so everything I'm going to show you is from AliExpress. These are some leather gloves that she wears. I also bought these really pretty brooches, and I got 6 of these. They're so sparkly, and I wanted like something that had a bit of a snowflake style shape and flowers at the same time. So those will be going onto the belt, and I also got my studs. Now they're very small and hard to see, but these are little 4mm, oh here you go, you can see it better here, little 4mm flat back stud things. I'm just calling them studs, but I guess you can call them like half spheres. And I have been gluing them on with E6000 glue to the bodice, and they're going at each diamond in the center. And I'm thinking where the belt will go, which is about here, I'll stop putting the little studs in the middle of the diamonds here, just because the belt's going to go on top anyway, and it would just, I think, get in the way. So I'm just working on gluing these down each night as I watch TV. So there's not really much else to show about this process, so I won't film that as such. Maybe I'll do something on time lapse, maybe I won't, we'll see. But yeah, those are the studs, and I think they look really good. You can see what it looks like from far away, and if you can imagine that across the whole thing, I think it would look pretty much how I want it. So that's really great. I've done all of the hip flaps and glued on all of these little silver stud things, and I'm working on up here at the moment, and I'm just making sure to leave this space free because this is where the belt is going to go. And oh my gosh, don't these look so beautiful? I love these little brooches at the waist there, and I think this is looking gorgeous. I'm super excited. This like gluing has taken me such a long time, so I think I'm going to leave it here for now and maybe pick up something else like the belt perhaps. I also had a quick look at the reference pictures to see where the eyelets go on the shoulder seams. So there's like 3 eyelets up here, and I just wanted to see if like they would interfere with any of the little glued on half stone things, but I think I should be fine if I glue it here, and then this space here is free to put eyelets. Yeah, I don't know what else I wanted to mention, but I just wanted to show you how good it's looking so far and that I'm really excited. I've finished gluing all of these little studs onto the bodice and the sleeves as well. You can see I've got 2 of the sleeves down there, and I've got the 2 others somewhere else. And I am really happy with how this is shaping up. I'll show you the back. So depending on the light, these sparkle a bit different. Sometimes it looks like they're barely there, and then other times, like now, it's pretty obvious that there's studs all over it. It's not exactly like the reference, but I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm thinking of moving on to the belt next, and I'm thinking of making that out of the same fabric that I'm using to make the draping skirt panels down here. So that's the curtain fabric. If you want to review what fabrics I'm using. That's all in part 1 of this video series. And yeah, the other things that I need to do are obviously put some closures on here. So put a little hook and eye up here. And I think the belt honestly will keep this shut. So I probably won't bother with putting any closures down here. So that's the plan. Let's move on to the belt. For the belt, I'm going to use this fabric, and I want to keep it so that the grain line is going horizontal rather than if I was to cut it this way and then have the stripes going upwards. I want it to go horizontal. So I'm going to cut it along here, and I measured that I would need 37 inches across. And as for the width, I want it to be 3 inches tall. So I'm going to cut double that plus an inch either side, or like 1 to 2 centimeters either side. So that's what I'm going to do out of this fabric. And the other thing that I thought of was that I want to be able to attach this little leather bag to the back of the belt. So this has little loops that are this sort of size. I just did some tests with the leather here, and I'm going to cut these strips. These are 3 inches wide, and then I can fold the edges inwards like that, and I'm going to sew these down, and then that can feed through this belt buckle, which will be at the back of the belt. But then also what this means is that this bag can be threaded onto this leather piece, because this is strong enough to hold this bag and all of the contents, whereas the fabric is a bit too flimsy. So I'm going to actually get working on sewing the edges of this down first, and then I will cut out the rest of the belt fabric. Okay, so I did a little test of feeding the leather strap through this buckle thing, and I'm filming it because I need to remember how this actually goes together. But essentially, this is what it's going to look like from the outside. And I've got just a single piece of leather going through and back out on one side. So that will be secured on one side of the belt. And then on the other, there will be this strap, which will be like sewn down. So it is folded over and has that extra thickness, and then that will feed through, and this is how it will secure in the back. So that's the plan. I'm going to now feed this one under the sewing machine and sew along these 2 edges so that keeps that nice and flat, and then I'll see where I'll go from there. So I've sewn up the 2 edges of this strip of leather, and I think that's looking much better now. And I guess now it's time to move on to the strip of fabric which I'll actually be making the belt from, which is this. And I think what's going to happen is I'm going to fold this in half, right sides touching, sew it into a tube, turn it right side out, and then it will look something like this. And I think that is going to be inserted at the end of this tube, and then that's how it's going to attach in the back. I'll get started on this and then hoping that that will make more sense as I go along and do it. I've sewn the 2 sides of this strip of fabric, and this is right sides together, and along one of the edges I tapered the stitching so that it matches the width of the leather strap. I'm hoping that the leather strap will fit into there. So I'm going to turn this right side out and then see how much I actually need to wrap around my waist, and I want these parts to overlap a little bit so that this matches up along here, and then this tapers down on top of that. So that's the idea for here. Yeah. Did you want to describe what you're doing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go eat garlic bread.
Oh, okay. Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna eat garlic bread too. After I turn this one. Thank you. This is what it looks like right side out, and now I need to actually press this with the iron just so it's nice and flat and the edges are crisp. So let's go do that.
Now, the only thing that matters is that there's a killer on the loose, and he could be living in our building.
But yeah, if PAX is anything to go by, probably see a lot of it there.
I've sewn down the leather piece with the belt buckle, and I did a combination of some normal straight stitching and then also some zigzag stitches to keep down the edges of the leather, and also this first row of stitching as well. You can see that it skipped some of the stitches because it doesn't like sewing through leather, but I've gone over it a few times, so that should hold. As for the raw edge on the other end, I just zigzag stitched all of that shut, and so now it's looking like that, and that's going to be hidden underneath the belt. So next up I need to apply the bias binding so it matches the rest of the jacket. I'm going to be doing bias binding along the top and bottom edges of the belt, and I've only got this much bias binding, so I'm just going to chop that in half and then put it across the top and the bottom, at least for the parts that are visible for when the belt is worn. Let me see.
So now they just need to be fluffier.
Yeah, and they need to stay on your shoulders somehow.
Yes.
I feel like if you use ties it should work.
Mm-hmm.
I think Velcro might be a bit difficult given the curved shape at the top.
Yeah. Because it'd have to be like a very small sort of strip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would be more comfortable with ties because they'd be like more secure, right?
Yes, they would be.
Yeah.
All right. So I just sewed the other side of the belt, which is here. Sorry, when I say the other side of the belt, I mean the leather strap. So that's sewn here, and I just used a lot of zigzag stitches really, just to secure that down. I've then threaded this bag through it, and if I turn around, you can see that this strap then feeds through the belt buckle loop here, and then it comes over to this side. So I'm thinking of adding maybe some Velcro just to hold this part in place, but I'm really liking how this is working so far. Like, this feels quite secure. When I remove my hands, you can see that that's holding, and it's also holding the weight of the bag, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to, I think, either add Velcro or like some sort of snap, something just to hold this in place, possibly even some sort of loop that goes over it. Actually, look, Velcro might be the simplest option, so I'm not going to do that right now. I am very tired right now, so I'm going to leave it at this, but like I said, it is functioning how I want it to, and I am looking forward to finishing it. It's the next morning now, and I was feeling very tired last night when working on this, and also the lighting's better now, so I thought I may as well show you what I was trying to show last night. But I have sewn the leather scrap piece just around the belt buckle on this side, and I did a lot of zigzag stitching, a mix of straight stitching as well, just to secure that in place. And the raw edges of this fabric are hidden under there, so that's all good. On the opposite end, I did just zigzag stitching just across the end. This is going to be hidden underneath the belt anyway, so I didn't mind that this was just zigzag stitching. I also zigzag stitched to the outside the leather strip, so you can see all of that zigzag stitching there. And I also tried to zigzag stitch down the center here just to keep that flap from coming undone. And then this is the whole like part of the leather that will feed in through the belt loop, and at the end there again zigzag stitches to hold that closed. And now what I'm going to move on to is sewing the bias binding to the top of the belt. I've also got the leftover bias binding for the bottom, and what I've done is just marked the center of the belt and also the center of the bias binding, and I'm just going to work my way outwards from there on both the top and bottom. Actually, I take it back. I'm not going to work from the center and outwards. I'm going to work from the end here. So I've just put the bias binding where this edge starts tapering down, and this is just going to go along the length until I've run out of bias binding, so about there, which that should work fine. And yeah, I'll just start pinning that down the side there, and then I can stitch in where that fold is. The bias binding is now sewn down on one side. This is on the back side of the belt, and for the edges I just folded them over like that. So when I flip it to the right side, so this is the side that's facing outwards when the belt is worn, I'm going to sew the bias binding over like so, and at the very edges just make sure that the raw edges are contained by folding it in like that and then folding it over. Sorry, trying to do this one-handed, and then just top stitching all of that down along the length of the belt. Yay, the bias binding is now all sewn on, as you can see. This is how it looks from the outside, and this is how it looks from the inside, so very much the same as all of the bias binding on the whole bodice as well. So I like that I actually had enough bias binding to make it match. And what I'm going to do now is try it all on, including with the little bag pouch thing attached to this leather strap. Figure out where I need to mark the Velcro or some sort of closure to hold down this end. And I'm also going to try it on top of the bodice, just because there will be a little bit of additional bulk from the bodice. And also work out where the little sparkly gem things at the front of the belt need to go. So very excited to do that now. Okay, so the bodice is on. Now time to put on this belt. So I think, yeah, it goes this way. So I have the belt buckle on my right, and might have to do a bit of shifting the belt around just so I can put this on from my front so I can see what I'm doing. And the belt feeds in like over this first piece, goes under and then back through to the outside. It's a little bit finicky. Oh, I forgot to add the bag. Those just slot into the belt strap. All right, so let's try this again. So from the top and then back through like so. All right, so now that's in. I'm just going to adjust the belt so that the bag is on my back. And then on this side, just going to pull this a bit tighter. All right, so that's actually at a comfortable sort of tightness. For a con, I probably wouldn't want to go any tighter than that, just because I want to be comfortable. And I'm making sure that this leather piece matches up at the side, and then this leather piece matches up at the side as well. So from the front, it all looks nice and neat, and all of the leather stuff is happening at the back. By the looks of it, this belt keeps the waist quite low. So I think I'll need to add some gems here and here. So just along the part where I didn't put any gemstones, as you can see, just because I thought the belt would cover those, but clearly doesn't, so that's fine. And then I also need to add a hook just here. So that should be quite simple to do. And then the final thing, so let me just give a 360 so you can sort of see how that's looking. Hopefully that looks okay from the back. I can't see. Oh, something's going on here. There we go. So that just needs to attach to the side. Like I said, I'd probably just use Velcro for that. And I think I just need to mark that with some clips. So I've marked that so I know where the Velcro needs to go. And the final thing is working out the the 6 of these that go in the center. So she's got, luckily these are just little brooches, so I can just attach them directly on, and then I'll probably do some extra stitching just to be extra sure that they're secure. All right, so I think that is sort of the placement. My neck's getting a bit sore looking down, trying to position them, so I'll take this belt off and then just reposition slightly if I need. And what I'll do when I watch like TV is I'll hand sew these to the belt just so they're a bit more secure, because as you can see they're a bit loose, just attached with the brooch pin at the moment. But I am so pleased with how this is looking. So happy. Like I said, just a few minor things. Attach Velcro here, hand sew these down, and then also attach a few more studs along the waist there where the belt isn't covering. And after that, the belt should be done.